All right, boys and girls. So we got my dad's Deluxe in the shop now. These are the tires that I got from Pure Off-Road. Talked about them in my last video, but here they are. Carnivores 29 by 9.5 on a 15-inch MSA M12 diesel wheel. 9.5 inches wide, like I said. For comparison, those are the 32 10 by 15 that I had on my XP. So currently, this machine has 2,500 miles on it. Bad dog bumper. It has the Gilliman clutch kit, Gilliman tune. This is a 17 Deluxe. It has the 27-inch Coronados, Maxxis Coronado tires. Not a terrible tire. I used it for plowing up at the cabin the other day, and I wasn't super impressed when I went to plow with it compared to the Carnivores that I had on my XP. Obviously XP is a little different animal, but still, I think having a square setup is going to be nice. A little bigger tire, a little more ground clearance, and I think the Carnivores just hook up. So here's where we're going to start off at. I want to get ground clearance, so we know how much ground clearance we have now. 10 PSI in all of these tires, the Coronados, and 10 PSI in all the 29-inch Carnivores. So let's grab some clearance numbers so we got something to work with. Of course, tape measure not cooperating. So we are at 11 3/4 at this flat spot right here on the very back. So here's the tube, here's the trailer hitch, this flat spot right here. 11 3/4 inches in the back. Walk to the front here real quick and grab this. So here we have 8 3/4 inches. This has got that little brace in the center of the lower. So 8 3/4 inches to the tire side, the bottom of that A-arm. And I measured the width, that's what I got my boards out here for, 62.5 inches, front and back. I thought these machines were actually pretty close to 60, but again, I measured the outside of the bulge of the tire. Obviously, you look down, you know, Polaris measures these things, I believe, at the hub, which is why they call it a 60-inch, I believe. I've heard people call them 62s. I thought they were supposed to be 60, just like the Razor S chassis that they're from, or partially borrowed from. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna weigh these Coronados and put the 29-inch Carnivores on. Those are a 4+3 rim, so it should add about 2 inches of width to the overall width of the machine. And then we're gonna see how much height. We're gonna see how they fit. Can you go from a 27 to a 29? Not have any issues. This still has the sway bar intact. I don't think he plans on taking it out. That may be something we want to test, how it works. So this has the Fox shocks, like I said, it's the Deluxe. And they're actually turned down pretty far. There's the end of the threads. There's the top of the threads. In the back, we have the tenders in a glorious smash flat fashion, like usual, not doing a thing. So I think we're gonna reach out to 304 Off-Road and get some tenders for this thing to push it up and get that ride improved like I did on my XP. And then with these 29s, we'll have a little extra room. But I know a lot of people want to know, these, you know, does a 29 or 30 fit stock form and fashion? Don't need to do nothing to it. So we're gonna test that right now. All right guys, let's get some weights on these Coronados. .45 for the rears. That's the rear Coronados. Let's measure them both. Just like last time, let's measure the front since I got those here next. I think that these tires, they did feel very similar. The new Carnivores on the diesel wheels are 45. So the fronts are 35. So we're gonna gain some weight there, about 10 pounds per tire and rim. But the rears, to go up 2 sizes in tire, 1 size in rim, which is where the weight comes off, 45.4. So the rear 27-inch Coronados with 2,500 miles on them weigh 45 pounds. The brand new MSA M12 diesels, 29,950 15s instead of 14s, weigh the same 45 pounds. The first front that I measured was 35 pounds, and that's a 27, I think these are 9 wides. 27 9 by 14. Let's measure the second one here. Yep, 35 pounds, almost 36. So the new setup on the Deluxe, which Dad's out driving to set the suspension so we can get some heights and see what his first impressions are of the driving. So the rears are the exact same weight as the new 29 setup, aftermarket rims, and the fronts are 10 pounds heavier per piece with the new setup. So that's not bad. Wait till you see when we pull her back in here what it looks like. It looks killer. It looks way better than these. So we'll get it in here. We'll get some measurements on width and on height, and we'll go take her in the woods and see how it fares. Like I said, there's nothing done to the suspension on his at all. The Fox shocks are turned up a little bit in the front. It's where it came from the factory as. He's not messed with it and I have not messed with it. But I think we're gonna, now that we got all the tires from Pure Off-Road on, we will reach out to 304 Off-Road and get some tenders, make this thing sit right and ride better. All right guys, so here it is on the 29s. Got her up on a knoll. Got some air underneath the tires. We got the wheel cranked all the way. Plenty of room there. Plenty of room there. This is a 29. Actual measurement at 10 PSI is about 28 inches. But you know, every tire, 30 is 29. 29 being a 28 is about right. They look good. Plenty of room. I would say if you found a 30 that was true size to a 30, you're gonna be pretty tight. Okay, so yeah, if you had a full 30-inch that actually measured a 30-inch, I think you might be in trouble as far as fitment. This does have the sway bar on it, like I said. You can tell we're completely off the ground there, but there's lots of room. We're up on a pretty good sized knoll here. The back, we have no issues. You can put pretty much whatever in the back. So, but the front looks good. So we'll take her and run it up on this log pile once, just to see what that looks like. But she looks good. It's gonna be way better traction than with those stock tires. All right, here's the log pile. Obviously we got lots of air underneath the tires go around. Again, the sway bar is still in this one, so it doesn't flex quite as much as it could. But there's lots of room. So we're gonna take her back in the shop, and we're gonna see about putting on the Tusk 32s, same rims. I just put them on my XP. They actually measure 30 3/4, so that'll give everybody a good idea of what it would be a big 30, I guess, or a small 32 in this case, how it would fit on here. Okay, so let's check some ground clearance. Keep the tape where I need it. So on the same spot, 12.5 inches. So we gained 3/4 of an inch in ground clearance in the back. And we're at, call it 9 3/4. So we gained 1 inch in the front of ground clearance and 3/4 of an inch in the back with these 29-inch Carnivores, which actually measure out to be 28 inches tall. Let's see what we got for width. So we're right at 65 inches to the outside bulge. So from outside bulge to outside bulge, which is how I always measure. 65 inches wide. So we gained 2.5 inches in width, 3/4 of an inch in clearance in the rear, and 1 inch of clearance in the front. So now, here's what we're thinking, is I have the XP in here. We're gonna put the 32-inch Carnivores from the XP with the stock XP wheels on the Deluxe. Okay, so here's the Deluxe on the 29s next to the XP on the 32s with the tenders. So I'm thinking the next thing we do is get the tenders in the Deluxe. We're gonna try the 32s on it just to see how they work, how much more ground clearance, so on and so forth. But she looks pretty mean with the 29s on it. Drives nice and smooth. So let's try the 32s and see what we get. All right, guys, so just for kicks, we decided to put the 32-inch Terrabites on the Deluxe. She touches a little at flex. She's pretty tight. Still got the 30s and the 29s on the back. We're out here working underneath the lights, but I mean, they look big on it. Obviously right now it's drooped out some, but slight amount of touching, just in the slightest amount of turning and little bumps. I don't think you definitely want to ride it very hard like that if you flexed it much. Definitely if the sway bar was disconnected, you'd be touching. These things are a small 32, like 31 1/4, 30, 31, but I think on a non-XP model, I think you want to probably stay away from 32s unless you plan on doing some lift or tender springs. So we'll reevaluate this if we get some tenders put in this to make a little more room. Okay, there's the 32-inch Terrabites on the Deluxe. We we took it for a ride over there. I mean, there's some room. Not a whole lot. They probably wouldn't touch if you just drove it on the road all the time. We drove it just a little ways down the road over to the other piece of my property. And not terrible. You definitely wouldn't want to trail ride it very hard like that. But we're like 11.5 inches now. So 8 3/4 on the stock 27-inch Coronados. 9 3/4 on the 29-inch Maxxis Carnivores. And 11.5 on the 32-inch Tusk Terrabites. So just kind of interesting. We were looking at the forward and arched A-arms on the XP, which would make 32s possible on this. So maybe we'll have to look into that in the future. Might be a future upgrade.